when the city went underwater, Milwaukee's deadliest flood. At first glance, the night seemed normal. Then the heavens were split open. The digging became a torrent street river. Fire holes hissed like boiling cauldrons beside their mouths. Their naddle holes blew. Line of lights disappeared behind curtains of rain. In minutes, a bustling Midwestern city was helpless against water. This is Milwaukee as it was submerged. How and by what it has been most flooded. There is one thing that I want to make clear in the very beginning. There have been several severe floods in Milwaukee, but few of them have claimed lives. The record contains fatalities in 1964, 1973, 1986, and 2010. But the most notable of them are the storm in 1986. 2 people were killed: the 11-year-old boy who was swept away in the Kinnickinnic River and the 80-year-old female drowned in her basement apartment. It was a deathly night. Over 6 inches of rain in less than a 24-hour period. Roads flooded, the airport shut down, and neighborhoods isolated. It was record rain, as reporters put it then. At many households, 1986 has never cooled. Tragedy 1986 was not the only one. In the month of April 1973, the loss of 2 lives occurred, as the car of the couple was engulfed by the floodwater. To the north, in the neighboring city, a man died in July 1964 after becoming trapped at an underpass there. The information is given by local historians who traced the calamities that struck Milwaukee and how people managed to handle the situations. By deadliest, we mean a small span of nights when the water was in control and there were fatalities. The numbers are not very high nonetheless. Each one is a family in its own world. Where rainwater and urbanization mix, there is a need to know the land and water to explain how a city can flood. Milwaukee is located where 3 rivers converge on the lake: Milwaukee River, Menominee River, and Kinnickinnic River. They are also short-lived, urban rivers with rapid rise. When heavy rains fall on asphalt streets and parking areas, there is nowhere to drain. It flows into storm sewer systems and streams and collects in depressions. In case of the rain falling too quickly, the system cannot cope. That is when you can watch streets turn to streams, underpasses turn to lakes, and basements turn to tubs. Local river histories explain how the Milwaukee River used to get turned into a dumping ground because industry and growth created the problem, further adding to flooding and water quality. So, let us go through the night of August 1986, the storm which most inhabitants continue calling as the worst. A thunderstorm was brewing as the evening started. With the buildup of clouds, the storm became buried itself and simply sat there, pouring the rain that broke old records. At midnight, alarms were reaching. The Menominee and the Kinnickinnic overflowed banks. Basements collapsed. Cars halted in mid-air under viaducts. The airport closed, and more than 400 travelers stayed in trouble. And into the Kinnickinnic, a child was drawn. By morning, the city heard the terrible news: 2 people dead, thousands of houses damaged, and a common feeling that the water had demonstrated its power. Even today, there are arguments in what flood people consider to be the worst. In crude destruction, many refer to July 2010. That month was a succession of 2 flash floods that happened days in between. There was as much as 7 inches of rain in 2 hours. At North and Oakland, there was a sinkhole big enough to swallow an SUV. Interstates closed. Once again, the airport was closed. Over 50 people rescued. A man is dead after being washed out of a car in Lincoln Creek. 2 fatalities were recorded, and, in 2010, 1 fatality. That brings the 1986 to a reality of one of the most deadly years in the city, tie-setting with 1973. This number is not that great in the scope of the disasters in the U.S. However, having even such a single death case is too much in the city that prides itself on being prepared. Local disaster records support the same argument. The most damaging floods in the region were urban in design, rapid hitting, and impossible to escape in case one is in the unfavorable location at the wrong time. Why do these floods strike with the lightning speed? Part of the answer is terrain and asphalt. Part of it is how storms now behave. Climate experts and meteorologists have cautioned the Midwest about increasing rainstorms of intensities. That is, storms which squeeze inches an hour away, not days. When that occurs in the middle of night, people are driving home, sleeping in basement bedrooms, or going outside to look at a sump pump. Small decisions that very rapidly become relevant. Also to be discussed is the city defense. Milwaukee and its suburbs have spent billions to control stormwater, and the system includes the so-called deep tunnel, which holds combined sewer overflow and cuts the amount that flows into the rivers on large rain events. Those projects have reduced pollution and retarded millions of gallons. When rain surpasses the record old time, any measurement system will be overstretched. Engineering can be sound, but low ground along the rivers, neighborhoods with aged smaller sewer pipes, and highly traveled routes where water can pool first and pumps cannot move the water along fast enough, all continue to be the weak spots in the ground truth. The city and regional agencies periodically update reports on enhancements, new green infrastructure and buyouts in the areas most prone to flooding. In 1986 and 2010, it is the same thing by listening to the people who went through 1986 and 2010. A parent puts a child up on the roof of a car. One neighbor with a pickup truck helps unfamiliar citizens move wet furniture to the street. A retail owner discovers flotation of its items and loses days in the removal of walls. The particulars vary, but the emotions are the same: shock, anger, and then a lengthy cleanup process. Forecasters in 1986 were quoted as saying that the storm just sat there. In 2010, the sceneries of the sinkhole were turned into the image of the event. In both years, it was the same lesson. Urban flooding comes quickly and makes traces that are more than financial. And the news did not end. In August 2025, Milwaukee region experienced another record rainfall. Other gauges registered a foot or more within 24 hours. For rivers have reached new peaks. Milwaukee River is at a new high. The governor declared an emergency and crews dealt with hundreds of calls. Early reports indicated that there were no confirmed deaths, but the situation had not yet been evaluated as residents pumped out basements and counted losses. This recent onslaught reminds us that when people say that it is a 1,000-year flood, they are attempting to describe shock, not a prevention measure to be applied in the future. What can a viewer learn out of hardest flood nights in Milwaukee? 1. It is a question of location. If you are along the Milwaukee, Menominee, or Kinnickinnic rivers or along creeks, such as Lincoln Creek, go look at your flood maps, request information on your city plans to protect the area, and where your lowest lying entry points, the basement windows, stairways, or garage doors are. In 2010, there was only one understreet collapse that caused international headlines. This demonstrates how one flaw may lead to a serious crisis. Second, time is a factor. Most of the fatal accidents occur when it is dark, and cars make 180-degree rotations, rather than proceeding through water, even when other motorists are on the move. Even a few inches of fast water is capable of sending a car off. In 2010, one life was lost after a car got trapped in floodwater in Lincoln Creek. In previous floods, the fatal flaw occurred as drivers attempted to cross stagnated underpasses. These are habits, and habits can be changed through making better decisions. Third, neighbors. Any big Milwaukee flood also features people assisting people, rescuing a person out of a submerged car, opening an extra bedroom, lending pumps and fans, and delivering food. The heroic work done by city crews may be matched by the first tap on your door by a neighbor to make sure you are all right. That human failed chain is among the defenses of the city. But history does count in the end. When we say that 1986 was the worst flood in the history of Milwaukee, tying with 1973, we are not evaluating agony. We read the account book to where risk is loss. That experience respects the lives we lost and informs the decisions we implement. Larger pipes in the right places, more parks to infiltrate and moderate runoff, and judicious decisions about site-specific development. It has been in the city to learn something new after every storm, and this is what saves lives. This is the lesson. Milwaukee looks out on the water the same way it did 1964, 1973, and 1986, and in 2010, and soberly, at even more extreme levels today. Till water arise. Again, the idea is straightforward. Be prepared, operate preemptively, and ensure no more nights of storm end up with being the worst deaths ever.